you're going to teach me how to dance one of these days.
I hope so.
I'll be able to get out there.
That's my goal, the whole world.
Right. We'll do more of that. So what first drew you to this style of dance? How did that all come about?
Welcome to Posture and Purpose, where both healing and community come together. Make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Let's get into this episode with Dr. Michelle Carr-Frank.
Dr. Moriah Hargrave's passion is sharing her various projects which stem from her Louisiana-themed lifestyle brand, Flourish Forever. Dr. Hargrave was born and raised here in Lafayette, Louisiana, the heart of Cajun and Creole country. She has embraced her role as a multilingual scholar who is deeply rooted in her own Cajun and French Creole heritage. Dr. Hargrave is also a proficient Cajun and Zydeco dance instructor, as well as a passionate health advocate. She also focuses on bringing the community together through fun, culture, and fitness so her participants can flourish forever. Welcome, Dr. Hargrave. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have you here. I've been wanting to speak with you on this level for a long time. I get you all to myself now, but now all of our listeners can also enjoy your company. So tell us, I want to know about the origins of traditional Zydeco dancing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Zydeco dancing started out in the early 20th century. And the roots were from a couple of different music styles that I would say our modern audiences probably aren't as familiar with, because before it was called Zydeco, it came from Jure and it evolved into Lala, and then it started becoming called Zydeco. And people really didn't have a name for the dancing that emerged from that, but the dancing was very much done in like a closed position. It was very intimate. It was very African and Caribbean in its roots and style. And the roots with the music itself was jure, which meant to swear, to testify. So it was that a cappella call and response, clapping, stomping style of music that comes from, people who were enslaved in this area. And then it eventually emerged into Lala. And that was something that even, like if you talk to someone like Rockin' Doopsie Jr. or somebody like that, he talks about how his family never even called it Zydeco. It was always Lala. So
Really?
Zydeco emerged really strong in the 60s when Clifton Chenier came out with his song Les Zydeco sont pas salés. And that was just a tribute to the phrase of how, like a response to how people were doing. And Les Zydeco sont pas salés meant the snap beans ain't salty, which meant that times are so tough I can't even afford to put meat in the beans. I can't put the salt ham in the beans. So
Interesting.
That was kind of how that song developed. And then he popularized the song and the expression, and they just started calling it Zydeco. And so that's a very quick synopsis, but the style of dancing really, I think, started in the early 20th century, but it kind of took off in closer to the mid 20th century, like what we know of as today. And of course it's still evolving.
Yes, and so popular. At least I absolutely love and I enjoy watching. But you're going to teach me how to dance one of these days,
I hope so.
I'll be able to get out there.
That's my goal, the whole world.
Right. We'll do more of that. So what first drew you to this style of dance? How did that all come about?
Well, when I was younger, I just remember my happiest moments, I think, being on the dance floor or connecting with someone that was very special to me. I remember just learning how to kind of move to the music on my dad's feet. He would put me on his feet and dance me around the kitchen. I have like really early and fond memories of learning the specific style of how to Cajun two-step with my grandma on my mom's side. Yeah, like that was the first time I started realizing like there's different styles and there are actual steps to this thing, because I think with my dad and family and just a lot of families in this area, I think we're so used to just kind of moving to the beat, but we don't necessarily know that there's different steps and styles involved. And so that was the first time I remember that connection being made, and I was probably 7 or 8. And then there was another time when I was at an East family reunion, and it was a wedding. I'm sorry, it was one of our weddings, and my grandma East taught me how to jitterbug. And I just remember the challenge and the excitement and the connection that I felt with her in that moment. And so those were just some of the special memories that I had. And also just seeing my parents dance, who, you know, they weren't like proficient dancers, but they both had rhythm and they could move. And I just remember thinking as a child that when that happened, I just felt so secure and so happy that they were enjoying themselves. And so for me, it was just something very warm and almost necessary.
Yeah, that happiness brought people together.
Literally, yeah.
So, oh God, that's a wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful memory.
Yeah.
And so my next question was it passed down through your family? You said your parents could, you know, move and dance, but was the Zydeco style something you discovered later?
Yes, Zydeco I discovered later for sure. Cajun dancing, I feel like, was always kind of a part of my experience growing up. My sister had taken classes at one point, and then she would come home and teach me how to Cajun dance, and she would teach me different styles, but she would never be able to learn from like the follower side, or I'm sorry, from the leader side. So she would always make me be the leader. And she was like, well, these are the steps, but I only know the follower part. And so I would have to learn it opposite as the lead. And I probably was in high school at that point. And that's when we started going to some of the festivals and stuff like that. And then I really started dancing in college a lot. And I had a friend from Kaplan who was a phenomenal dancer, and he Cajun danced, and he taught me some very basic Zydeco dancing, and we would go see some of the Zydeco bands, and that was when I realized, oh goodness, there's like this whole other world that I need I need to embrace and absorb, and so I did, and I kind of went full throttle obsessed with it for a very long time. All throughout my college years, even when I was getting my doctorate at Arkansas State, I would still come back home and I would manage festivals like Cajun and Creole, like the stages for some of those festivals, and Festival International. And then I would also go to the trail rides and just do things that were really fun and really just rooted in the culture, and a different part of the culture.
Now, where you said you got your doctorate at Arkansas State University?
I did.
Tell us what brought you to Arkansas. Did you go to UL?
I did. So I got a bachelor's in Francophone Studies, which is like French literature, minored in German and Spanish at UL. And then I got a master's in interpersonal and organizational communication. And my focus for that was, I guess, intercultural relations and the print media coverage for festivals like Cajun and Creole, kind of how that developed over time. And then I went on to get a doctorate simply because UL, the communication department at UL, was more interested in a quantitative analysis, and that's not how my brain works. I'm more qualitative and artistic, and so it was very difficult for me to produce what they wanted in that Master's of Science kind of degree. But I did that, but I had already accumulated so many interviews with different musicians that they said weren't really necessary for my master's thesis. And so I thought, well, I can't just let all this go to waste. I might as well just get a doctorate. So that literally was the thinking. It wasn't ever a goal to get a master's or a PhD. I didn't care about education. I just liked to learn. I didn't care about the credentials. And yeah, so that was kind of how that happened. And then Arkansas State was the only university in the country that had a heritage studies PhD program. Most of the other ones had folklore, which is semi my background, but it was a little too specific, or they had history, and that was definitely not my background or interest. And so this program was interdisciplinary, and it just kind of drew in filmmakers and cultural scholars and museum directors and people who were interested in taking culture and putting it into the public's hands in a way that they could enjoy and appreciate. And so that's how I ended up there. Yeah.
So tell me about one of the most interesting musicians maybe that you've worked with or interviewed.
Oh gosh, I don't even know where to start with that one. I mean, Wayne Toops is one of the people I think about. Of course, he's from Crowley. Maybe that's why I'm thinking about it, because you're married to a Crowley boy.
Maybe so. Good Crowley.
He's precious. He's been a friend for at least 2 decades at this point, and has always supported me. I think I was like this cute little college kid that he was trying to help out, every time, and I always had, these little interviews and stuff. And so he accommodated me all the time. He was just very, very kind and generous with his time. And then...
And he's brought so much to
I was actually...
Louisiana.
I agree. I was just at the Country Music Festival in Nashville this past weekend, and I was just thinking, man, Wayne Toops needs a stage here. Like he could totally rock these people in this crowd.
Right.
It would be so great. And I was actually remembering years ago, because I spent a lot of time in Nashville with my job as a student at Arkansas State, because our job was working with the Johnny Cash family and all of them. So I went to actually see Johnny Cash's sister. She's a phenomenal singer, gospel singer. I just saw her this past weekend. And so I just remember being in Nashville a long time ago and seeing a poster with Wayne Toops on it and just thinking, man, he's even here, he's just great.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. And J. Paul Jr., I think, is just one of my absolute favorite musicians, artists. He's from Houston. He plays Zydeco, but he's really infused so much of hip hop and just different sounds. But he also has like a slide guitar and accordion and
changing things up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful mix. And so...
That's good.
Yeah, I'm in touch with Akon's manager. We'll see what happens.
Oh, keep me posted. Next episode. How do you feel that dance reflects or even preserves one's culture or heritage here in Louisiana, or with your experience in music and dancing altogether?
Well, I heard this, in fact, this week by someone, and it always kind of rubs me the wrong way, because they'll say, oh, the culture's dying. The culture's almost dead. People don't speak the language. And, for someone who's, I feel, still has a very strong pulse on the culture, it's not just about the language. It's not just about even the music. It's about all of it. It's about having a reason for people to get together. Mm-hmm. So when a family kind of disbands and dissipates, it's because they're not getting together, right?
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing for me with the culture in this community, is that we always have reasons to get together. We have festivals, and we have dances and music and food and all the things. And when you stop doing that, that's when parts of this culture die.
Yeah.
Or maybe people just fall off.
Right.
But really, I think dancing is just a huge part of keeping our community connected, because everyone has their own opinion about politics and about religion and about, how to, education or whatever it is. We all have strong opinions, or some of us, like me, or they don't have strong opinions about some of those things. But if they do, this is one of those things that, you can dance in somebody's arms and not realize what their political tendencies or persuasions or educational background is, and it doesn't even matter. None of that matters.
It doesn't matter, because like you bringing it back to dancing with your grandmother, it's a happy experience. It's a joyful experience shared between two people for just a moment, and then the real world is just waiting on the side. It'll be back when we need it, but in that moment, it brings joy to people. So.
And I think it evens the scales, or balances the scales. It really just takes out a lot of the ugly things that the news might want to try to focus on and divide us with.
Right. And when did you realize that this dancing and this passion of yours could also be a platform for a business?
Well, that was when I got back from Arkansas with having completed the doctorate. I needed to put my brain in the freezer. And I just remember Chubby Carrier calling me one day, and he said, hey, there's this event called Cycle Zydeco that I knew about, because one of my good friends, Simone Sanchez, had started that back when she was working at Lafayette Visitor Center. And so that had been going on for several years, and it sounded like a cool event, all these cyclists coming in from all over the country and other parts of the world too. And they would cycle around Acadiana, and then they would have little pit stops and live music and dance lessons and stuff like that. And so Chubby was playing for this, and he said that they were looking for someone to teach the dance lesson. And I just remember thinking, well, yeah, I can do that.
What a compliment. Chubby Carrier calls you to come teach some dance lessons. That's awesome.
Yeah. And he was just, he was also... like we were friends, I was really close with his wife at the time. And so well, his wife at the time, we're still friends, me and the wife, but she's an ex-wife. So.
Oh gosh.
But my
We'll
point
leave
is,
that
that she and I were really close. And so he wanted to, I guess, bring me into something he knew I was very passionate about. And there was an opportunity there. And to this day, I'm still their dance instructor for that particular event, which means a lot to me. I just love working with with that event and that organization. But that was when I started, that's when I had my first official job, if you will, as a dance teacher. But then I would go out dancing and people just kept coming up to me and asking for private lessons. And so I thought, well, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to teach this stuff because I just have been doing it and having fun with it.
Right.
And then I had to find a place, so I didn't know where to go. And Frank Randall at the Randalls that just closed, and
I know.
they transitioned. They moved to Brobridge, so I guess it's okay. It's still alive, but not in Lafayette anymore. But Mr. Frank was just so kind, so generous. He invited me to just teach my dance lessons before the restaurant opened. So I went there for years, maybe 3 or 4 years, and started teaching, group classes and private lessons. And he even put my name on the marquee. That made me feel really important at the time.
Of course, the lights. That's wonderful.
Yeah, so it just kind of developed, and then I ended up really establishing something that would be sustainable and organized. And I'm finally getting to a point where I think I can start training other people to do this and maybe kind of spread the love that way and hopefully make a little more of a valid career. Because honestly, when I first started teaching dance lessons, some of the people that I love dancing with and who were great dancers just didn't think that I would ever make a business out of it. They just thought everyone here knows how to dance. And they told me that in no uncertain terms. No, it's not. The majority of my clientele is local. And they said when I first started, well, good luck with that. Everybody knows how to dance here. And I thought, okay, well, I'm still getting called and people are still asking me to do this.
In demand, yes.
Yeah.
And there's so many venues, that you can go and hear the music. Is there a special venue or a place that you like to go in particular?
I like all of the places. I love going to the Warehouse 535. They have a really great vibe there. Knox and Duson's the latest one. It's so great. That's on Saturday mornings. I think they're trying to do something there.
My husband and I just went to Cypress Cove. Have you been to Cypress Cove?
I haven't been there yet.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
And fun.
Yeah, that's Jordan Thibodeau's place.
Yes, yeah. But you need to teach us how to dance so we can go and actually.
I know. Well, he talked to me a while back about maybe doing something over there. So maybe we just need to go. Yeah.
Let me know. And were there any personal moments that you experienced through these classes or through meeting these people that pushed you into entrepreneurship? Okay, I'm going to show you. You don't think people need dance lessons? Maybe they do. Let me show you.
Yeah, I don't think I was that sweet about it in my attitude, but yeah.
We can imagine, right?
Yeah, I just thought, oh, really?
Sometimes we all need that.
Yeah, you're telling me I can't do this? Okay.
Sometimes that's healthy.
I even had someone, whenever I got married or got engaged, who told me, it was a male, of course, and he said, well, you're not going to get any more clients now that you're married. And I just thought, wow, this is what you've been here for this whole time. I had no idea. Sorry to disappoint you, but the rest of the world's going to move on and they're going to be fine. Right. And we're going to continue on with the dance lessons.
Next.
And yeah. and just kind of a full circle moment. I did happen to run into him years later and he was just like, are you still teaching dance lessons? And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I am. Through my pregnancy, through my marriage.
I know.
Yeah, it's been going on this whole time.
And it's been great to watch you. I've watched you on social media, and I just love it. So,
thank you.
How can people find you on social media?
Well, I have a personal page, and then I have a business page. I used to have 4 business pages, but I'm in this process of streamlining, consolidating. Gracie McNabb is a local brand genius, and she's been helping me as a friend just get my life together, so that's been nice.
We all need that.
Yeah she's just like, you're pouring into way too many funnels, these are all great ideas, but we can make this happen with one business page. So my business page is Flourish Forever, and that's on Facebook and Instagram, and then my personal is Moriah Hargrave.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you all heard it here. Go and follow her so you can sign up and learn how to dance. So I was wondering if you have a special story, anything that really stands out in your memory, like of either a couple that you taught how to dance or a special event that you were asked to be at that you thought, okay, this has really made a difference in my life.
Well, I guess I'm thinking about several couples. I think that's where a tender spot is for me, is when I have a very dominant Cajun female coming in with her husband who's got his tail tucked between his legs and his head's down and he doesn't want to be there. And she's just letting me know, like, hey, I know how to dance. You need to teach him. This is how this needs to go. And that's happened to me, I can't tell you how many times, just for a couple private lessons, because women here just are bossy.
Take
you know,
charge.
we're really strong. It's a matriarchal society, and the men need to just, get in shape, and we're here to help them, And,
Right.
and man, it's been so good for me as a very dominant, independent female to just kind of recognize that that's maybe not the most helpful approach, and to also be able to just help her by saying, well, he's never going to learn with that attitude,
Right.
and just
How
kind
do you
of
say that nicely?
just kind of joking
Yeah.
and just kind of putting her in her place in a sweet way. And then a lot of times he'll kind of puff out and chest will come out and, yeah, woman, listen to me. This is how we're supposed to be dancing. I'm the leader here. And
Follow
then
me.
you can just see that shift in the lesson.
Really?
And it usually happens like within the first 15 minutes or so. And it's not every couple. But that's been a running theme, and it just made me think, man, I probably need to do couple dance therapy or something, because
right.
just in my own relationship and just being so strong, and my husband being very strong, but he's also just compliant and passive and kind and gentle. And so it's like when you see that they're deflating right before your eyes, you just need to learn how to not be so obnoxious. And
Get them
so-
on the dance floor.
Exactly.
I
But
don't
that, men, at least in my experience, they want to know how to do it correctly. And they're not willing to risk their appearance and reputation and looking silly. And so dancing feels that way for a lot of guys. And I understand that aspect. And I really feel like that's something I'm gifted in acknowledging and noticing,
good.
and then being able to correct, because they have every ability to take the lead and do a
Right.
phenomenal job as a dance leader and in that partnership. But it's just the confidence and the know-how.
Shake it off, just relax and just let the music
Yeah.
lead you, right? And how do you feel that through these dance lessons and all the work you've done to honor the tradition of Zydeco dancing, how do you feel like you've made it accessible to a wider audience? Like, of course, we know about the Louisiana culture, but you mentioned going to Nashville. That's wonderful. Do they know what Zydeco dancing is there? Like, how do you get all that to this modern community in Lafayette?
Yeah. Well, for several years, I did some touring with some of the musicians like Steve Riley and Jeffrey Broussard, and I can't remember all, just
So
a lot
many.
of different groups. Yeah, we would go to like Rhode Island, or we'd
Really?
go to, there was a camp up in upstate New York called Ashokan Music and Dance Camp with Jay Ungar, who is an amazing musician and folk artist. And so he invited us to go and teach dance lessons there for those workshops. And we would just spend the whole week at camp just teaching people how to do that from
Wow.
all over the country, And
In upstate New York, what do you know where it was near?
well, it was actually not far from Woodstock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My family's from upstate New York. That's why I
Really?
asked.
Oh,
yes.
that's cool.
Yes.
Well, this is the Ashokan region. That's the name of the region. It's a whole,
Okay.
a whole region in that area where
That's
they've.
far from home.
Yes, it is. But the documentary film that I did, I think, brought a lot of awareness and interest in the culture and the music. And I was also doing a lot of living history work, which is where you not only or exclusively get dressed out, but it's kind of like you can go and live out like a mid-18th century persona and then educate people from that. And you're camping, and I did a lot of camps, and like Illinois or Indiana and Ohio, and they all knew I was from Louisiana. I taught Cajun and Zydeco dancing. That was my interest, my passion. And so I guess I made a lot of connections that way. And
That's
then we
wonderful.
were also connected to a group from Brittany, France. And so I'm going to be going there in August for the biggest, it's called the Festival Interceltique du Lorient, and it's the biggest Celtic festival in Europe.
Oh,
And so
Celtic.
they've invited Louisiana to actually have a presence this year for the first time, but we've been working on that collaboration for 9 years. So to see that coming to life is exciting. They've asked me to show the documentary, and then I'll also be teaching dance lessons there.
Wow.
So it's just like, I think just kind of been living your life and just doing what you think you are supposed to be doing in that moment.
Your passion.
It kind of like just spreads, and you end up meeting the right people and making the right connections,
and
and
it happens.
it just happens.
What's the name of your documentary? Can we find it?
Yeah, it's called First Cousins, Cajun and Creole Music in South Louisiana. And it's on my website, which is flourishforever.com. And the flourish is spelled with an E, like fleur de lis.
Yes. Okay. And I want to know what a typical week looks like for you.
Well,
I know you're married, you have a son, and it sounds like you're a very busy lady.
Well, since I've had my son, I feel like my life got a lot more organized. I know that that's the opposite from what I heard.
Usually.
I think that's why I hesitated so long in having children, because I kept hearing that your life is going to stop. You're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to go anywhere or do anything. And honestly, it's been the complete opposite, which is just insane to me. I've definitely not experienced that. I've been more free, if not as ever, I guess, if not more.
As a mom,
Yeah, because I have really had to get more structured with my routine. I get up at 6. I'm in the gym by 6:30. I finish my workout by 8. And also my devotions and my prayer time. All of that's happening. Worship, all of that's going on while I'm working out, and I'm podcasting, on what I need to feed my soul for the day. And then by the time I get home at 8, I take over and I take care of my baby boy, Kane, and then, it's nap time. I have a couple hours to tend to emails and stuff like that, and then he wakes up, and then my husband takes over at 5, and so he'll do dinner, and then I have a couple hours of office time in the evenings, and then we try to have at least an hour or two to connect and hang out while he's in bed, and then we just do it all over again.
Life as it unfolds. And can you recall an instance where your dance business helped you to reconnect others with their identity or heritage? I know Zydeco is, very popular, but with different people and different cultures here in Lafayette. Do you remember one instance where you connected someone to Zydeco and they said, maybe my family used to Zydeco dance, but we haven't done it since my grandfather passed, or anything like that?
I can't think of anything, to be honest with you. I'm thinking about my friend Gracie, who moved back here from Colorado and was already kind of dancing, but she started coming to my workshops and learning how to dance. But I can't think of any specific instance like that.
Okay. Well, I always like to ask this as my last question. How do you maintain your posture while pursuing your purpose in life?
I love that question. I think for me, it's just my quiet time with Jesus in the morning that kind of helps me regain whatever footing I've lost, throughout the day before. I try to do this on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day if the day is hard. For me, it's just really hard to pour into so many people if I'm not getting poured into. And it affects every facet of every relationship. I'm also supporting my husband in his endeavors. He's a personal trainer in Lafayette, but he didn't always do that. So he's launching his business, and we just feel very much called to doing this. It doesn't feel like a job. It feels like a ministry. It feels like a calling. So it's something that we want to be fully energized and responsive to, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to just be willy-nilly. And I think for many years that I was very passionate, but I was also running myself in the ground, and I still had the energy to handle it because I was in my 20s and even early 30s. I just didn't really feel like I needed to take the time, or like I had the time to actually sit down and make a plan and strategize and think about where I was headed. and I'm 41 now, and I just feel so different in my approach. I just feel like most of my connections and business goals and all of those things are so much more intentional, because I really can't afford to waste any time.
Time. We all need more of it, but it sounds like you're very centered and you're definitely on the right path. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It was nice having you today.
It was nice chatting with you, Dr. Michelle Carr.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Posture and Purpose podcast with Dr. Michelle Carr Frank. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time.